All right, recording.
All right. Good evening, everybody. This is the Management Committee meeting, February 8th, 2022. Rex is working out of town, so he is not with us tonight. Julie is on a well-deserved vacation, I am sure, and not with us tonight, but she is here via the two-way marvels of the universe. With Marty and JJ with us tonight. So let's start it off. We don't have a very long agenda, so I don't think this will take very long tonight. We'll start, Jeff, go through the numbers real quick and get into our topic.
All right, we capital fund total is currently at $418,020. That is after having paid, I want to say it was about $34,000 for down payment for the RFID system and the first go round of tags. And then the depreciation fund total is at $393,906, down $99,000 or $98,000 and some changes. We've gotten the check written for the backhoe, just waiting on it to get here. They're waiting on the thumbs to get in and should be in within the next week or two.
Very good. Good. It is plus. At least maybe we'll see something we bought before long.
I know, wouldn't that be nice?
So next, things that we have paid for and we really haven't seen what they'll really do. What have we learned about the security phone system or the phone system?
Well, it's actually since I told Spectrum that they had until Friday, about 3 weeks ago, it's been working flawlessly until the power outage. What Randall had said was their generator kept tripping because they've got, with that package storage building built on behind it now, they've got more electrical to run.
Mm-hmm.
So ideally a bigger generator is in their future. But in the meantime, every time it kicked off, they had to do a reset on the equipment for the phone and internet. So
after that, it was okay.
Yeah, after that, it was fine. And that unfortunately happened to be the same time. Apparently something was going on with the AT&T tower and you couldn't get through by cell phone either. So
decided to upgrade us in the middle of an ice storm.
Nice. Oh, we're 5G now? How do
I haven't noticed. Actually, at the house, it's worse, but and I've seen some other people comment about it.
But I do think, and the reason that we put this on here, I do think that it would be wise for us to get a third line down there, because with a VoIP system, there's things like that can happen versus an analog line would have still been working more than likely. But get a third line and make that an analog line. Cost is like $40 a month, but that can be the emergency line, both in and out. And that way we're not having to worry about whether or not we have power.
Be worth looking into. Phones aren't that much.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think, frankly, I think a trimline phone, one of the ones you have in your kitchen hanging up on the wall, that way there's nothing electrical to it except for that little low voltage signal that creates the sound.
You talking a rotary one?
I thought about that, actually.
No, the new kid wouldn't know how to use
it. It couldn't possibly get all 10 holes filled at once. All right, and our other favorite topic since we put it in, our clubhouse generator. So
yes, so
I got the word on that, but go ahead.
2 years now, from what I understand. So at last conversation about that, prior to this ice storm, Generac was using the supply chain excuse regarding alternators. We all know that they think the alternator's bad on that and has been since pretty close to day one. I guess I should say Rick called the installer Powerline 6 or 7 different times since I've been here, at least. And I've talked to him a couple of times trying to get him to do something other than just come out and say, yeah, there's nothing we can do except for wait for an alternator. Today, Rick had me listen to a voicemail from him after a less than pleasant phone call yesterday that said that Generac is shipping one overnight and it'll be here tomorrow. Apparently the ball was not necessarily dropped by Generac. So we'll see. So assuming it shows up tomorrow, if not, then it's going to get pulled and rebuilt. It'll have to be reprogrammed from what I understand. Because it cycles on every now and again.
Yeah, every time you have to change out the battery, you had to just go through and manually start it.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, overall it'll have to get set up. set
That's
back
easy
up.
to do.
Yeah.
I
Okay,
am
so anyway,
familiar.
if it shows up tomorrow, then it will be installed before the end of the week. If it doesn't, we're gonna hold and get that alternator rebuilt, put it back in, probably looking at a week, week and a half at the outside there.
Good. So looking up. Rim core unit. What do we have?
An old dinosaur.
And that is the cooling mechanism
That's
for
the
brewery.
chiller for the beer. In fact, Jeff and I went in today and one of the circuits had tripped on it. We reset it. Just last year, the pump went on it and Scott fixed that. I just think, with the efficiency now of the different chillers, I think we'd be better off. We'll get some quotes on how big a one we need. I don't have to overkill or anything like that. It's just one to keep the beer chilled. But it is to the point where, if there was something like this, now granted, it was cold. So that sort of helped, kept the tank cold. But on the other end, if something like this happened in the summertime, we could lose, thousands of dollars easy. So for the next meeting, I'll look at getting different quotes. I'll have to see too. I don't think we have to stay with the Remcore. There are other brands out there.
I don't think Rimcore actually makes units anymore.
No?
I couldn't find anything new.
Okay. I thought I saw something online, but let me.
eBay.
I might have been used.
I did find something on eBay. And it
Shows
yeah, and it
rim
was
core
used.
repair.
According to Steve, the guy that's been doing the repairs for us, we could easily get away with a newer unit, half the size of what we've got
Right.
there, if not a little bit smaller than that.
Yeah, just the technology now. That's probably the original one back from the 90s.
It is, I don't know about original, but it is from the 90s.
Are you still looking at downsizing the whole brewery or?
I personally, I would like to. Problem is, I think we'd have to open up that wall again to get the old tanks out. So I think
Give me a torch.
the block. No, you don't want to cut the tanks.
No, not scrap.
Yes, yes. Now, I mean, the system is worth something, and to sell it and get a smaller unit with more fermenters, I think could be done. I'll look to price that out.
Will that
I
increase
was
your
just-
output?
It could, due to the fact that you'd make one batch and it'd be in a fermenter, and it's a smaller fermenter.
Okay.
And you could have 3 fermenters in the space that we have that one huge one.
Oh,
So you can make one, have it in the tank, make another one, have it in the next tank. Now we make one and put it in the tank, wait till the tank's empty, make the pale ale, put it in the tank,
Right.
wait till that tank's empty.
which leads to some supply chain, supply issues every now and again.
True.
It has my too.
True. And we've been going through a lot more beer since I started looking at it too. So it's something that, and people like a little bit more variety. I think we can probably keep the same recipe for the lager and the pale ale, but then have a seasonal or something like that if we had the capacity to do the 3 fermenters.
Okay.
You could have your lager, your pale ale. I'll look into it.
And did I understand you to mean that there are smaller units sitting behind a wall? Is that what that was?
No, I think to get the tanks out, we'd have to take.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Part of it
Got
all out or take the door out or something.
Okay.
I was looking, the door would be tight, but you have to have the right people doing it too. So depending on if we had the ability to sell it to another brewery, which they would probably want it, but it would probably be, you come and get it and go from there.
But
AJ, have you talked to other brewers that might want, that are interested in it?
I have talked to one that said he would be interested, but I haven't gone beyond that.
Okay.
And we wouldn't want to necessarily take the money we would make from that to repair a wall either.
Well,
Yeah.
yes, that's the whole thing. You have to really do the math from beginning to end to see if it's profitable. And On the other hand, if it costs you a little bit and you get a better outcome, then we have to look at that too. But Hideaway Hills likes their beer here. They've been going through it, so
It's good. Feedback.
I'll hopefully have more information next time. At this point in time, I really don't want to go out and approach the different breweries for, buying our system, but let me see what the chiller costs and sort of put together a bigger game plan per se to see if that's the route we want to take.
Sounds fair.
But even buying a chiller, you can buy a smaller chiller that's more productive that we could still keep, if we went with a new system.
Right. Okay.
Right?
Good. Thanks.
Ooh. Okay. Our poor old security trucks.
All right,
They've
so
been sitting on our depreciation list for a while.
they have, as a matter of fact, and we've got that's listed to replace one this year. So a couple of discussion topics here. First of all, Rex actually started it, looking at Toyotas. Looked at a Ford Ranger also, but in my mind, and certainly open to other opinions on this. For the same price as the most expensive one here, actually about $500 more, you get their 4-cylinder engine. To me, Ford's 4-cylinder engine is not really proven itself, and to use it out here, it's the EcoBoost, I guess is what it is. To use it out here, I wouldn't
An extra squirrel.
trust it. Sorry if there's any Ford dealers out there. But we've got 3 different Toyotas here at different levels. All are the 2 stickers that say not original are the access cab, which is what we've got now with the suicide door on it, if you will, the smaller back seat, and it's an extended cab versus the crew cab. The double cab, which nobody thinks we need, is what Buckeye Toyota has available in factory right now. All of this is in factory. You'd be looking at March if you ordered it today. Okay. My thought is, and in talking to Randall, there's no reason to go above the $29,000 unit. Now that's a 4-cylinder engine, but it's a Toyota 4-cylinder. It's what they've been putting in the Camrys and the 4-cylinder Tacomas and the RAV4s for quite some time. Randall's got personal experience with those, and that's his second vehicle is a 4-cylinder 4x4 Tacoma. So the recommendation would be to go with that, $29,244. That said, these are all from different dealers, so I need to see if Buckeye could get us this one and could get it to us at a slight discount, just for knowing people that his family members own part of it. Okay, so again, preliminary conversations here. Second part of that is we've talked about taking one of the older trucks and giving that to maintenance. The silver truck, although it is the newer one, we apparently ordered with far too many bells and whistles on it because that's what we could get a deal on at the time. It's the SR5, and so they're having a lot more trouble with that one than they are the black one. Even the black one's got, I think it's 2 or 3 years older than the silver one is. Black one's got maybe 20 more thousand miles on it, but the silver one's the one that is giving us all the problems. So I would think we'd want to trade it in. Don't have any quotes on what they'd give us for a trade in yet. We haven't gotten that far, but I think that at least is worth looking at versus giving it to maintenance then and continue having to fix the things.
Well, with the side-by-side coming for maintenance, that's going to kind of help with that situation for them too.
Yep. And I'm not sure that a full-size truck is not the better answer for them anyway, with as much stuff as they have to carry in the back.
So is this Toyota model like a half-ton? Is that what this is? Or
No, the Tacoma's it's like what we've got now. It's the
small
mini
one.
truck, if you will.
The Tundra's the big one. Toyota Tundra.
So this would be like a half-ton, and the
No.
Tundra would be a 3-ton.
No.
I don't know anything about Toyota.
They're
That's what
not-
I'm asking.
This would be like JJ's pickup compared to mine. Right?
Yeah,
That's a
the
half-
Toyota version
Right.
of that.
Right.
So it's a smaller, it's the
It's a
same
smaller.
size that they have right now.
When I was younger, we used to call them mini trucks.
Smaller bed, smaller cab.
And
Well, I
it's got
mean,
the, it's got the stubby bed.
The wheelbase on them is really important. The shorter we can get here,
It's-
it's not about ride and comfort because we're covering 30 miles of road down here and none
Right.
of it's good.
A lot of hairpin turns.
So,
that kind
yeah,
of
to me,
thing,
it's-
so.
Yeah,
It's more about accessibility around hairpin curves and up into driveways and things. And that's why I didn't know wheelbase wise how these
yeah,
things work.
it's
Yeah,
smaller.
exactly like what we've got now, which has worked well for them for the last several years.
Do we have what do we have in the budget?
35,000.
in there?
Yes.
Okay.
But you only looked at Toyota so far.
Yeah, I've got, like I said, I've got one Ford, but for 500 more than the most expensive Toyota, you get their 4-cylinder engine. And
But you just looked at the Ranger. You didn't look at a F-150.
no, we didn't look at the F-150s. And reason for that being, as Randall's saying, with as much constant driving as they're doing around here, I mean, you've got the gas mileage component, particularly as gas continues to go up, but you've also, a lot of those hairpin turns are a little bit tougher to navigate, where you might be able to take it in one fell swoop. In the Tacoma, I might have to do a 3-point turn in a bigger truck.
I could agree with that.
I used to have an F-250 and it's not made for the hills. Long bed, it was not made for the hills.
Again, wheelbase has got to do with that. I was just wondering.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no deals out here on anybody.
No,
You can pull an X plan, but I don't think anybody, I don't even know if the line are X plans anymore.
What?
X plan, discount plan.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So your manufacturers, not anything that I'm aware of, Toyota, Honda, anything like this, but I know on the major manufacturers, Ford's is an X plan. Dodge's is called something else, which takes 2 or 3% off, but I don't even know if they're honoring those plans now.
Yeah, the Ford, and another issue with the Ford, the Ranger that we looked at was you're looking at about 6 months out from time of order.
I think they're all going to be that way.
Well, yeah, they were saying March, but who knows? I mean, we
Yeah.
thought we'd have a
Mine was
two by
mine was
now.
November, and it's not even on the assembly line yet.
Oh, really? Okay.
Kind of like lawnmowers, I guess.
Yeah.
I think that's where our mowers are at, the back of my new truck.
So a little bit more work to do on this. I did want to bring it up so that I sent an email to everybody. You know what we're talking about. But we're gonna try and get the silver one in to at least get a trade-in value for it, and that way we'll look at options, and I'll get hold of the sales guy with Buckeye again and see if they can find us the 4-cylinder 29,000 version X plan or not.
Yeah, I don't even know if whatever we can find cheapest. Yeah, I wouldn't buy a Ford Ranger. I said I wouldn't even consider a Ranger.
Yeah.
F-150 maybe. Short wheelbase. Anyways, next thing you have is my name here, and it was just something, just as an update, to kind of give the expense control. So we have sent partial money for the controller system. So that was the agreed upon fact that we would do, so they could start obtaining the electronics that we need. So they'll
Yep.
have them when we need them. The RFID tags, we've covered that one.
Yeah.
And we have any other issues that have crumbed up on this thing? I know we talked about the main gate and what we were going to do with that. We're going to bore under the new asphalt out there, or that we got those things kind of worked out in just June timeframe, April.
Yeah, well, he said probably 6 weeks once we ordered it, and we got it ordered just before the storm hit on, I guess it was Tuesday. So those should be in. The tags will be in sooner, but those are just sitting in Dallas waiting for them to get the check. The equipment should be in within 6 weeks, so say 8 weeks, and then it's up to us to decide, okay, when are we going to coordinate installation for?
We're just working on a timeline, so
Yeah.
we need to know so we can continue with that process. Cool.
Okay.
With that, are we leaving the gates open or now? Is there a problem? We just making sure the internet's on, or?
No, well, no, the issue, we had left them open because South Central Power is still doing
and out.
so much work and told us for the last 2 days that power was going to be on and off in numerous areas throughout because they're putting up several new poles. I guess we had a lot of poles that were basically broken in half, rewiring the poles and then installing transformers. They're going to be shutting off electricity, turning it back on. So the option was, do we leave them open or do we run every time they say, okay, we're ready to turn it off. Okay, we're going to turn it on. So, but I'll check with Cash before I go in to make sure they get them off overnight or get them closed overnight. There's no reason to have them.
I think they're still working around the clock, aren't they?
Oh, were they? I didn't know they
I
were.
think so. I think so. I think
Okay.
so.
They're losing money.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, the
Well, I
money
know
they're
they've got-
spending, they're losing money.
They've got companies in here, contractors in here from all over the country. I'm sure, there's no hurricanes in Corpus Christi, Texas. I'm sure we got some trucks up here from Corpus.
General updates. I think you talked about Caterpillar.
Did talk about the Caterpillar within the next 2 weeks. The check's ready to go. Ice storm. We did. We were getting calls, and just a handful of them about my road's not been plowed yet, as maintenance was working to remove. I think it was actually 111 trees because we had to move one yesterday. But basically, if you drive around and look.
No.
Button. If you drive around, you've got all sorts of trees cut off right at the ditch line, and then the other part of it across the roadway. They were not able to. Rick didn't feel comfortable having them trying to get the backhoes navigated around these roads. We don't have chains for those, so they were basically pushing and pulling stuff out of the way with their truck. So it was the better part of one night, wrapping up about 10 o'clock, and then the next morning from 7:30 in the morning until about 1:30, they were working just on trees. And Rick tells me he could not lift a cup of coffee the next morning after lifting the chainsaw so many times.
Yeah, he admitted he was old to be.
That's a young man's game.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I just want to comment on that too, because after talking to Rick and they were whipped, then he's fielding phone calls too of, when are you going to get on my road? Some people questioned because they quit one night. For safety's sake, these guys are on icy roads and we're watching for low hanging limbs. And when it got dark, it was not safe for them to be out there.
Correct.
Second part of this, these guys were worn out and they needed to go home and get some rest.
Yeah. Or just get some rest. They didn't go home for.
Well, yeah, the whole rest thing. And Rick said his mind never shut down. He never really did rest because he had the same mess at home he had to deal with once he got there. But, we just got to remember there's a reason no one's getting picked out or singled out for where they live or anything. They do the best they can, but we got to keep their safety in mind too. And Rick made that call and it was the right call to do.
Yep. Yeah. The story he told me was back in another ice storm. And he was telling me this is about the third worst that he's seen in the 37 years he's been here. He had actually, and the reason that they don't do it after dark when there's an ice storm particularly is because it was just getting to be twilight. They were out cutting trees, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago. He pulled up in his F-150, parked it, got the chainsaw out, walked about 20 feet to start working on the tree, and here's a pop behind him, and the cab of the truck was flattened by the next tree that fell. So it's one thing in the daylight when you can see where they're coming from and dodge it. Something completely different at night where you don't know which way to run.
It's pretty random even during the day while that's coming down.
Is it?
Yeah,
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, all you do is you just hear the crack and then it just starts going and then it can cascade.
Okay.
So yeah, it's
Yeah, it's true. You could have domino
it's just not
effect.
safe to be out there while it's active. Like anyhow, you just gotta let it go, and when it's safe, you get out there and you take care of business.
Security responded to, they got calls from loved ones and things. And, if somebody hadn't heard from them, well, obviously without phone, internet or anything like that, they did several, well-being checks and found things being well. I think we may have had one or two that we transported, the ambulance over the weekend. One, I think was a direct result of it being cold out, but,
Okay.
and, elderly. And I was told by a lot of people, they met neighbors that they hadn't met before because some people are recluse and don't want to be bothered. And as the community come together and checked on each other,
Yep.
So-
And there was a lot of door knocking going on. I know, kind of.
We
a-
hope we
a
don't see
chain
another
setup.
one for another, I don't know, 50 years would be okay.
That'd be great. Yeah. And yeah, Randall did say that once neighbors started opening up doors for neighbors, they transported 5 or 6 couples or families to their neighbors' homes, and then also got 4 families to the front gate, and family, a couple or with kids, I'm not sure which, to the front gate so that their families could pick them up and take them into wherever, Canal Winchester, Columbus, or whatever. So yeah, security did a great job as well. Randall, Dave, Cash, and who else ended up pulling the long shifts?
That's the
I
third.
think it was Cash and Dave.
Yeah, the longest ones, yeah.
They
Yeah.
were here 2 days.
Yeah, and then I think Randall, maybe Sean ended up coming in not long after Randall that first day. They were both here, or both groups of them were here for well over 24 hours and not taking many naps because the phone didn't stop ringing. I will say that, and I've been to the maintenance shop before and seen their bunks and that kind of thing. They're not very comfortable mattresses, but in a time like this, there's only 4 of them, because usually there's 3 here at a time, and they will relieve 3. So to have 6 of them there, you had 2 people sleeping on chairs. So yeah, it's no wonder they were bushed. So
Yeah.
good thought for the future might be
Yeah.
to take a look at that, and certainly as a new building is built over there.
Right.
Not that we want them like making it a man cave or anything, but certainly when they need rest, they need rest.
Yeah, and that's not conducive to resting.
No.
That's why I think when I said in that, that email we had, we get with everybody that was affected by that, these guys, the security guys, and find out what worked, what went well, and then what areas are there, for improvement, so we could be better next time, like the generator down there, somehow we're addressing, but some of these other little things too.
Yeah.
Like just having a cot,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, and the aggregate freezing in the back of a couple of the trucks, because they have those trucks out with the aggregate in the back for weight
Mhm.
to push and pull trees around and that kind of thing. Well, now that aggregate's unusable until you can get it under heat for an extended period of time. So, yeah, I'll start putting a list together. I've got one from Rick already, but I'll push Randall for the same thing, and we can see what can be done. The clubhouse generator will be a big thing. That was. I know, and you helped out with that too. And Rick said to really thank you for all of your help, and apparently magically making the electricity come on at the lodge.
He just can't figure it out how to do it at all.
I just walked in there, right, and then
Yeah.
And then Fleeman had just gotten done setting up the generator that we brought. And I was just standing here, I was looking over there, and the thermostat on the wall, I saw it flip, and I was like, what? So I went around and I flipped on the light switch, and I go, hey, dang it, I made that.
But and even helping with the generators and that kind of things. That was, they were changing it out every 3 hours or so. Battery. So that was a big help.
Did we ever price a generator, a full building generator for this building here?
Not that I'm aware of.
Do you know anything?
Even if we did, we'd want to do it again.
Yeah, I think just this could be, ground zero per se. Plus, to keep the freezer, the coolers upstairs, but keeping heat, electricity down here for people that were out.
Water.
Water, yeah, things like that. A place to go, emergency center per se.
Yep. We really had some other folks besides Marty. I mean, always got here with you, stepping up and bringing non-potable water for toilet flushes and that kind of thing. We ended up not needing it in the end because 5 minutes in, the power came back on. But it had been out for the better part of 48 hours, I think.
Sure.
Yeah, and that's where we get around and we talk to everybody. Those are the things that we can come up with and, kind of have, not making any statements on anything here, but, you figure out what you need to do and then you have stuff staged in certain areas, depending on the severity of
The
what's
emergency
going on.
plan.
Well,
Yeah.
we started off on a normal weekday. Everybody was here. Then they chipped in and started work, and it continued to get worse. Now it was difficult for them to get home. Some of them made it home, some didn't.
Yeah.
And then once it went home that should have come back, couldn't get back.
Right.
I mean, was it Saturday night or Sunday night? Randall was coming back in and he just couldn't get back in. And Cash and Dave said, just turn around and go home in lieu of trying to wreck coming in on this.
Yeah, and you had a level 3 emergency.
So we had
plus a
everybody
state of
here.
emergency in Hocking County,
Yeah.
from what I understand, from the power and the
So,
trees down.
I
So.
think it worked out well. Nobody was hurt.
Yeah.
Came through pretty good, things considered, so.
Yeah.
But like you said, let's get all the goods, the pluses and the minuses, and
Yeah.
create a little plan.
And I
Gotta get
will
better.
say, since we're on the power outage, and this is under Lodge technically, but since we're on the power outage, we had originally, South Central Power had originally told Randall it would be Wednesday or Thursday, tomorrow or Thursday, before the power came back on. Apparently that is the case for some within Hideaway Hills. And I don't know what the outage is now, but while we only lost about $75 worth of food, and it was stuff that was in the cooler that was getting close to the, hey, we would have needed to use it basically by last Saturday in order for it not to go bad and toss it anyway. But we had $75 worth of food that went bad. But if it had gone until tomorrow or Thursday, you would have had probably $8 to $10,000 worth of food. Now our deductible is $5,000, but then now all of a sudden you're filing an insurance claim and a generator. I think that's worth building into the math, is that if you had a whole house generator, whole building generator for here, or at least something to hook the coolers and freezers up to, you'd potentially keep from losing a whole bunch of extra food.
Yeah.
Right.
But they're Jay.
Comments from anybody?
Hey, this is
We
Julie.
get to talking sometime.
Somebody there?
Okay.
Hey, does our insurance cover like lost income, or is it only for like food?
We are covered for loss of business, but for traumatic events, a power outage, I checked, and a power outage isn't included. It would be like a fire, flood that shut down, made the building impossible to occupy, that kind of thing.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
Very good. Lodge updates.
All right, so we are still targeting the 24th for our upcoming wine dinner. We're supposed to get the sommelier and wine rep out here this week. Was originally scheduled for last week, but ice storm. So assuming that we can all agree on the wines to be served, I think we're going with Whitehall Lane. But as long as we can agree on that and get the pairings, then we'll still hit the 24th for that, with prime rib being the entree for that day. Again, do a 4-course prefixed menu. And then Serena's been doing some hiring. We got a couple part-time / on-call people hired that will, she's going to be very big on getting people cross-trained between the lodge and the clubhouse, which is great. Justina is, Tamara is, Serena is, so we're already well on our way there to be able to bounce people back and forth, get them more hours and us more coverage.
Good deal.
I'm not trained at the clubhouse, so.
We'll work on you. Oh, you're trained in the brewery, so
I've seen you out there drinking beer.
Yeah, he's trained.
I'm trained that way, yes.
You discussed the loss of food policy, so it is something we have on the new policy, but unfortunately in this situation, it's not going to do much for us.
Yeah. Well, and fortunately in this situation, it's it is minimal. It is a little bit putrid over there by the freezer, but because it got warm enough where some of the fish juices leaked out, and so it's on the carpet in front. We sanitized that thing today, and then got down on my hands and knees, and it's the carpet. So Serena's working on trying to find a carpet cleaner to come in. But everything looks like it's in good shape. And I was telling JJ earlier, what you do after a situation like this for the next 2 weeks will be anything we thaw will be smelling and given a twice over. But by the looks of things, there's absolutely nothing other than that fish and 8 hamburger patties that don't had.
It's lucky, I guess.
Yep.
Good. Last note is just Chris being on vacation.
Yep.
It sounds like we have staff filling in and training. So.
We do. Chris will be out starting Saturday up through the following Tuesday. It's basically like 8 days, 9 days. 12th to the 22nd. And you'll see Tamara and Justina there most of the time. I think Serena's pulling a shift there on Tuesday, if I'm not mistaken. during the day, and then Renee and Sydney still in the. Okay,
Good. That's the end of our pre-printed list
that is.
of agenda items. Let's start with you, Julie. You got anything else?
Just two things. One, we're moving right ahead on the fitness center. We've got Spectrum in and waiting to hear from ADT to get the security in, which will then allow us to get the equipment and TVs mounted in the fitness center. So so that's moving along. And that's about it for me at this point.
Okay.
I hope Spectrum's working on the members first before the fitness center.
Well,
Prepared versus install.
prior to the storm, we had the Spectrum put in, so we kind of beat that, so.
Good.
Very good. Mr. J,
I'm good. Good.
I have nothing.
kind of like the way this is going.
Yeah.
I just have one thing to touch on, and only because I saw that Eric was on there from the golf committee, did meet with, yeah, here we go again.
Rick and Elmer.
Long-term COVID. What did they call this thing? They're having the symptoms off night. Just, oh my God, that's me. I think it's more than that. Yes. Rick and Elmer today laid out stuff from what we've learned from nutritional facts in the soil, on the greens. Very doable fixes. Not extra work. As at this point is just reworking the way things are. Elmer very receptive. Both of them were on some concepts of not redoing greens, but by tearing them up and completely doing a new green. But what the plan we have here is moving cups around on the greens more often. And as we rotate from one green to the next, you're always taking material from one to the next. And our deemed highly successful consultants we're using right now said within a 2-year period, we can almost turn each of our greens into new greens just by pulling our cups, replacing with new material. And then on top of that, working on our drainage.
Okay.
And,
Makes sense.
you know, yeah, so we're going to do it 4 inches at a time.
Makes sense.
So
Very nice.
they're very good in that. We were talking about spraying some materials instead of using the dry. We're still going to do a combination of both. I have obtained a sprayer, no cost to us, as Hideaway
Well
Hills, other than maybe some parts or some things like this. It's not a brand new unit, but it's way serviceable for what we're going to use it for. And if it works out, we have very minimal investment in it. So, and we're willing to look into that as the year goes on. But for right now, we have about, I don't know, 10 inches of white stuff on top of it. We don't know what we have until that goes away.
And I'm sorry, I forgot to cover the AEDs.
Yeah.
I will get you all the quotes together. These came in last minute today, so I didn't have a chance to get all the quotes together. But basically, I've got the cheapest one is in front of you. The least expensive units are in front of you, and that's 4 of them. Okay, which includes one for the fitness center. Also includes a cabinet for the fitness center. These cabinets belong to us, and security doesn't need a cabinet. They've got a carrying case. And then you can buy for $180 a year per unit. You can buy a program to where they're logging in via internet every month and checking out the diagnostics of each of them. They don't throw it in. It's an extra $720 for the first year, but probably worthwhile the first year, and then you can see after that if you want to continue it year after year, up to 5 years. There is an 8-year warranty on these. You change the pads and the battery out. It's actually one unit comes out as one unit. Change those out every 4 years. If you don't use it, if you do use it, you change it out then. Okay, but the price on this is for all of that is $5,780 plus tax. The most expensive ones we saw were over $9,000 plus tax, and then I've got an in between of about $1,300 a piece versus this $1,090 a piece. But I'll get all of them to you and ask for approval to move forward, because for what we spend with Centos, before I go, I really strongly desire to make that phone call. You're fired. Sorry if anybody on the video works for Centos.
We have others. Eric may have something because I know he was calling and talking to him today, and maybe he doesn't. But since I brought the golf course up, Eric, are you here to give us anything tonight?
Yeah, no, just the small details, like we're working on a fountain and getting some specs together for that, and the cart path for the amenity funds and trees, putting some things together for Rick and Elmer to look at before we go forward with it.
Okay, super. There was one thing just for you guys. We talked today to make sure that the committees are going through Rick, Elmer, the office, management committee before they start in any projects to the bricks and mortar of our things. We're in tune with what's going on, so we don't end up with issues like we have in the past. And that was part of Eric's thing of checking in with Rick and Elmer today, make sure that their amenities money was going in the direction it needed to and what they wanted.
Much appreciated. And Eric, to your email question earlier, we do have someone that we got the fountain that we received a few months back in from through a vendor that had the best pricing. So I'll have to look that up and get it to you.
Right.
Get somewhere. Okay, anybody else? Adjourn? First, second, agreed?
Motion, second.
So moved. Adjourned. See you next month. Thank you.
All right. Thank y'all.
All right, thanks.
See you. 41 minutes. That almost might be a record.